Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about the 2018 hip hop album Daytona. It's by Pusha T. And I've got 3 different reviews pulled up here. We'll be talking about them individually. 2 of them are going to be just written articles. So one from Pitchfork, one from, looks like Rolling Stone, and then the third is just a YouTube video. So none of these reviews use a ton of multimodality, but we'll just talk about what they do use and whether or not I found it beneficial to the review as a whole. So I'll start with this one. It's about 8 minutes long. I won't watch the whole thing, but I'll skip to some of the parts that utilize different modalities. At the very beginning of this video, he uses some modalities, I think just to kind of capture the attention of the audience and to title the video, let us know what it is that he's reviewing. So we'll see that here.
Tano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Pusha T album, Daytona. The latest album here from Cocaine Cowboy, Mr. Pusha T. President of Kanye's Good Music, formerly of Clips. You should know who the hell he is by now. If you haven't, please listen to Hell Hath No Fury and get a grip, please.
Alright, so just in the first, 25 seconds, 20 seconds of this video, we saw some text at the beginning of the video that he used when talking about the album and the artist, just to make it clear what it was that he was reviewing. And that stood out a little bit as a viewer. It was kind of an attention grabber, and it really let me know what I was watching. And then a little bit of background on the artist himself. He talks about a previous album, or maybe a most recognizable album from that artist. And that's pretty much the extent of the multimodalities in this review. There is another section here at about, 4 minutes and 8 seconds, where he throws up a clip of a lyric, or not a clip, but just throws up some text from a lyric from one of the songs on this album. And I guess that's kind of effective in showing us like what it is that he's talking about specifically, and I can play that now. But I didn't find it super necessary to the review or the video.
Feels kind of evil. Then comes maybe the only real weak moment in the track listing here, the song Hard Piano, which features a pretty big eye roll of a line right at the start. Rick Ross's feature on this thing is just okay, and even though the hook on this thing is...
So he uses that text, the lyrics from the video, to basically critique the lyric and say something that wasn't great about the album, which I completely agree with. I don't know if you read the lyric, but it's not something that I think is super beneficial or adds to the value of the album, although this is an album that I like quite a bit. Let's see, we will move on to, I'll say, so as far as this review goes, and the multimodalities, I don't see a whole lot of I don't see a whole lot that I'm planning on using specifically in my review going forward with my Pechakucha project, but it is definitely effective in what he's trying to do. And I also think it's worth mentioning that the review of like a hip-hop album in general is probably going to be much different from the review of what I'm doing, which is a television show. And one of the places that I noticed that is actually more so in some of these written articles. Hip-hop is, in my mind, very different from television because it's a very dense, almost like emotional culture where people they're deep rooted in their beliefs. So a lot of what these reviews are is taking positions, or at least exposing some of the positions about hip hop and about some of the like maybe hypocrisy in the genre and in that culture that this artist Pusha T kind of lays out in this album. So you'll see that a lot in both of these written reviews. We'll start with the ones from Pitchfork. One of the things that we can notice right off the bat as far as modality goes is it's going to be, the majority of this is just going to be written text. as a lot of reviews are. But we also at least have cover art here, which is cool. It's good to see that. It again kind of identifies and solidifies what we're talking about. And then it has a rating here for the album, 8.3. I'm assuming that's out of 10. I'd say pretty fair. A brief little explanation of the album, who it's produced by, the rap label, the genre, the label, and then when it was reviewed, which is cool because we know it was pretty current. It came out in 2018. It was reviewed May 25th, 2018. But in general, this is going to be very similar to what we saw from the previous review. It talks a lot about really specific tracks from that album, or even like lyrics from the album. It talks about the length of the album, which it was, I think, known for being pretty short. It says, just seven songs in a total of 21 minutes, which is pretty short for any album, I would say. We hear a little bit about the artist's history and what he's most known for, which is pretty typical. That's standard with the last review as well. One of the things that I noticed was the specific references being made to some of the lyrics that he makes. So, for example, one of the ones that I saw was calling out another artist. I think it was this paragraph here, calling out Drake for some like controversial practices such as ghostwriting or not writing his own music. That's something that came up in the album, and I think it was a pretty big theme throughout the album as a whole, just kind of exposing some of these like hypocrisies in hip-hop. But this is really different, again, from what the review is that I'm going to be doing, which is a television show. I feel that a TV show really is more of like a standalone entity. It's not really judged in the context of, all television shows. Whereas I feel like rap or hip hop is really, I think each album is, yes, it's its own entity, but it really stands as part of the genre as a whole. And I think it's really heavily critiqued as such. I don't think this is typical of what you would see for like a television review. It wouldn't be as detailed. And then with television, you're also going to have to consider people that may not have seen the show. So you don't want to be giving away any of the, unnecessarily any of like the plot or like spoilers or anything like that. Whereas in a review of an album, you don't really have to worry about that. I mean, referencing like a single topic or a single lyric is not really going to give away the album as a whole. And the same goes for this. I mean, it's really a very similar review. This one's by a different source. This one is Rolling Stone. And there is a little bit of variety in the modalities here. We have a photo of the artist here. We also have the title. It talks about what it is that we're reviewing, which is the album Daytona. However, this one doesn't give a photo of the album cover, which that's fine. It's not necessary. It also gives here 4 stars, I'm assuming, out of 5, but just another little layer of modality. This is really, it's going to have a lot of the same content. It's going to talk about the production of the album. It's going to talk a lot about and some of the specific lyrics and the themes, and then also the style of the artist, and the style of the production. So a lot of this is really going to be very, very much the same as what we saw in the other one. And again, I don't think it necessarily transitions, or I don't think it necessarily applies to the review that I'm going to be doing, or translates is what I meant to say. It's not going to translate to the TV show, but some of it may, I'm certainly going to be using photographs, and I won't be typing out my words, but it's definitely interesting to reference the way that this one is written, or any of these reviews, the way that they're spoken or written, just to understand the best way to communicate to an audience in a review format. But as a whole, I don't think there's a ton that I'm going to be taking away from any of these reviews. Maybe more so this one out of all three, but that would be about it.